Welcome to the Pondcast, the destination for insightful discussions and interviews on the appreciation, conservation, and husbandry of reptiles, with a focus on turtles and tortoises. Now, let's join our team of turtle nerds.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Pondcast. Before anybody says anything, we were just talking about updating the lead-in, the intro to the video intro to the podcast. So we're working on that really soon. I'm Anthony. Hello, Pondcast episode 94. We're really doing it. We're here. Of course, here with our new host for her second show, EmmaLee. Hi, EmmaLee.
Hi.
Say hi to everybody.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
And we have our esteemed, wonderful guest, Brian Kleinman. Yes.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes.
It's you.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah.
From Riverside Reptiles Education Center. We talked about you guys a lot last show because we had Dr. Monahan on, and he talked about places he had visited, and then obviously with that being EmmaLee's first show, we talked a lot about Riverside Reptiles. So it made sense to have you come on, and we could really talk to the person behind this wonderful new. Still new. I'm sure it seems like you've been at it for a little while, but this wonderful new facility that you've worked so hard to bring to fruition, so we can kind of dive deep into what that's like. I think a lot of people will really be excited to hear about that process.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me. Hello to all your viewers. Riverside Reptiles, the Education Center, has always been on the back of my mind ever since I started Riverside Reptiles educational outreach programs back in 2003, actually. I just came off a job at the Children's Museum in West Hartford, and I hated to leave that job because I loved it so much. We had mountain lions there, we had lynx, bobcat, birds of prey, and lots of reptiles, including rattlesnakes and copperheads and boa constrictors and lizards. And I was the animal curator there. But unfortunately, sometimes the best jobs, don't pay enough to survive on. And I just got married and I wanted to buy a house. So I had to move on, unfortunately. And a lot of people don't notice about me, but I actually fell back on my artistic talent. I became a tattoo artist for a while. I was actually
interesting.
Yeah, I was actually a professional tattoo artist for 14 years. Even when I did Riverside Reptiles at the very beginning, I still tattooed on the side to make ends meet. But my wife and I, we had a 2-bedroom apartment, so I converted one of the bedrooms into the reptile room. And then I just, started doing local birthday parties and just trying to get my name out there. And the first year in business, I did about 60 programs in 2003. And in 2004, I doubled that. And by 2005, 2006, I was doing over 200 programs a year. It kind of just blew up. And then we purchased our first house, and then my wife, Sarah, she's super supportive of my business, and she helps out a lot kind of behind the scenes and giving me advice and everything. But she let me take the whole half of the downstairs and make it to like a reptile room. So, I moved all the animals there. I was able to get more animals and expand my programs. Then my end game was always to have a facility where people could visit, because people would come over to my house and that would be like their trip for the day, because my house was like a zoo. So they come and hang out at my zoo, my basement zoo. And, I take the animals out and they check them out and I teach them about the animals. So fast forward to 2019, I was finally able to get enough money collected. I got a loan from a bank, which, by the way, that was a nightmare, especially when you're trying to start a new business. It's tough enough, but when you go to the bank and you say, hey, I want to open up a reptile zoo, you get a lot of weird looks.
Can't even imagine.
It was a roller coaster ride. Like, I had my father is an accountant, and he's got a really good friend who his net worth is like, I don't know, over like $50 million. I mean, he was like a banker or something. I mean, he helped me put together a business proposal, and he did a phenomenal job. Even the banker said, I've never seen a business proposal so good. And then they said, we're not going to give you $300,000 to start a reptile zoo. So what I had to do was I had to cut that in half, and I finally found a bank that was willing to work with me. So I leased a spot, started building, and here we are now. I mean, the building process, I think EmmaLee had some questions about that. I'm sure you do as well. It had its ups and downs. It wasn't the easiest thing. As a matter of fact, it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life was building a reptile zoo. But yeah, here we are. We survived COVID. We're doing pretty good now, and I'm really looking forward to what the future is going to bring.
I was thrilled a couple of weeks ago to be able to come in and visit and to see, and there were a good amount of people there, and I got to see you in person. In action, really doing what you're. We had so many conversations in the past, but I never got to actually see you doing the educational piece. And I was there with my wife and daughters, and we had an action-packed hour when we were there, and that was it. Then my kids have no stamina, and then my wife is all COVID conscious and everything. She's like, "Let's get out of here," because there were actually a lot of people. And but you were so lovely because you came out and you brought a snake for the girls to see, and a king snake. And I was like, oh man, Brian told me how busy he was. And then he takes this snake out for my kids. And then there's a line. They just start lining up like it's a mall Santa Claus. And now there's like 50 kids that want to see the snake. And you sat there, you were so patient. I was hanging out with you while you were talking to kids. And you just have such an amazing way about you. And, I like to think that I'm all about education and all about people and shaking hands and kissing babies and all of that. But to see you in action was something that was really impressive to me and really awesome to see.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. As a small business owner, you really have to represent your business. I mean, you are the face of your business, or at least, not throwing COVID into the mix, but usually 2 years, 3 years. I mean, but you always have to make a presence there, and you have to represent your business. You can't always, rely on too much help from your employees all the time, because you're asking a lot of them to do a lot of things in the first place. But you really have to be the face of your business. So I'm always out there interacting as much as I possibly can. I know I catch a lot of flack from it because I kind of avoid other tasks sometimes. EmmaLee, I'm sure, can attest to that I should be doing something like building exhibits, but then I see people, I'll go grab an animal. I'm like, hey, you want to meet an alligator? You want to meet a snake? And it's really good especially for people visiting the first time. I mean, I want to give everybody a great experience there, but especially people visiting for their first time, I want them to go, wow, this is a really cool place. The staff was awesome. They answered all my questions. They were very patient with my 3 and 5-year-old, and I definitely recommend this place to everybody. And so, first impressions are very important, especially as a small business owner.
Yeah, I think that happens a lot, where there'll be a lot of things that we have to do in a day. And I mean, Anthony, you've met Brian in person. He is one of the kindest people you will ever meet. And that's not just for show. He's truly like that to every guest that comes in. So I'll be like, Brian, this is what I need in a day. And he'll be like, okay, I'll start working on it. And then 4 hours later, he's still out on the floor engaging with guests and taking animals out. And I'm just like, did you do anything today? And he's just like, there was a lot of guests today.
Wow, he's really lucky to have you. That's all I'm going to say. keeping him straight. I need that. I need that. And the people in my life, both professional and otherwise, who are there to kind of keep me in check are so important. But I can't help but when you guys talk about being on the floor in the milieu, mingling with the guests, talking to them, educating them, I think back to myself at the Bronx Zoo as an 8-year-old, seeing the large alligator snapper for the first time. and how that changed my life. I'd always been obsessed with turtles. Ninja turtles were a thing, and I had pet turtles that were from around Connecticut, but I didn't realize the diversity that existed outside of my little box. And being able to be there and see that one animal changed everything for me. And to think about the countless interactions that you're having that could turn into someone being the next Brian or the next EmmaLee because they met one of you guys when they were there. Is that something that you think about often? I feel like I'd be thinking about that every day.
I do, for sure. You mentioned the snapping at the Bronx Zoo. I mean, my animal was a garter snake that I caught at my house when I don't even know, like, it's one of my first memories, like maybe 4 or 5. I went around the corner of the garage and there was this big garter snake sitting, right there in this, we had like a little sand pit, just sitting there sunning itself. And I used to watch like Mutual Omaha and like, I think at Wild America on TV. So I used to see people catch snakes. So I went down and I grabbed it. It swung around and bit me. I dropped it, screamed, and ran inside. But I wasn't scared. I was scared at the moment, but then I was more inquisitive. I wanted to learn more about the snake and like, why did it bite me and why is it there? And I mean, that kind of, started my fascination with reptiles. Yeah, that's my first memory. EmmaLee, what's yours? What got you?
I was going to ask her too. Yeah.
Actually,
what was it?
my first experience with reptiles was really similar to yours. I was out in the yard and I was making like a teepee out of sticks. And I picked up a stick and it was a garter snake. And I did the same thing. I screamed and dropped it and ran inside and got my mom. But I actually had a dad who was obsessed with animals and he was a really big herp guy. So we had a lot of frogs growing up in the house, which is weird because I don't like frogs now, but that's what got me into reptiles. So here I am.
Did she mention that on the other podcast, that she's scared of frogs?
No, that hadn't come up yet.
I don't talk about that one.
Scared is a strong word too. That's awesome.
No, okay. Not scared. She's hesitant around frogs.
Just frogs, though.
Unenthusiastic.
Enthusiastic.
I really don't love bullfrogs. It's bullfrogs specifically because I like the mossy frogs and the dirt frogs, but bullfrogs have a lot of teeth. And I was bitten by one, and I will remember that till the day I die.
This makes me so happy. I can't even tell you. Frogs are slimy, to be fair.
This is terrific. I've been bitten by alligators, and I'm not afraid of them. But a frog one time bit me, and I'm still upset about it. So.
You never saw it coming.
No, I didn't.
You're expecting Kermit.
There was
and
so
then
much
you got
blood.
The wrath.
Yeah.
Wow.
African bullfrogs, they have really razor sharp teeth. A lot of people don't know that. They can, and when they bite you, they don't let go, which is scary because their mouths are like vice grips. It's almost impossible to open their mouth. You have to like twist your finger to get it out of their mouth, and it just makes your wound much worse.
Yeah, and they close their eyes and they push against you with their hands too to try and like rip your finger off.
Rip your finger off.
Right. Yeah. So this is an African bullfrog, not what we would be used to in America.
What? American bullfrogs will do that to you too. But African bullfrogs, they have the larger.
They're bigger, right?
Oh yeah.
The African, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's interesting. See, that's what's so cool too about your knowledge, guys. It's so broad, given what your, what your client, like what you bring to your clientele. Mm-hmm. And that's another question I wanted to ask too, given your experience. And I guess kind of now, and then also, because there are also people who, a lot of people want to do what you've done, Brian, right? Mm-hmm. I think what you've built is really, for a lot of people, a pinnacle in this world that we love so much, and really something that I think a lot of people would aspire to, kind of as a pipe dream. But I think something more realistic that a lot of people are able to get off the ground is kind of like the traveling birthday parties and the shows and things like that, where they're actually bringing animals to people. Right. And that's something you have a lot of experience with as well. So I'm wondering, somebody getting started out in that realm, are there certain species that, people really want to see or that really leave a lasting impact with people? More surprise species or something that's kind of foolproof? You got to have one of these, that sort of thing.
Well, I mean, what I've learned is that it's not as much as the species you use, it's you. It's the presenter. If you can do a good program and you're animated and you're knowledgeable and you're good with kids and good with everybody, the whole audience, um, it doesn't matter what animals you use. I mean, you can use the most common things. You can use a bearded dragon, you can use a ball python, you can use leopard gecko, you can use like any animal that you'd find at a local pet store and do a 45-minute program. But as long as you present it in a way that's informative and educational and entertaining, you're golden and people will love you. But once you get to that level and you want to like really wow the crowd and like, you know, get people talking about stuff, like you can't go wrong with like big animals.
Yeah, that was my thought and question.
Yeah, I used I had a python named Percy. I rescued in 1999. Actually, my mom rescued it from one of her students. My mom was a teacher at a high school, and she overheard one of her students saying that after school he was going to kill this snake and come over to my house and we'll make a thing of it. And my mom just walked right into the middle of the conversation, and she looked at him right in the eyes and said, "You're not killing this snake. Give me your address. I'm coming to your house after school and I'm taking it from you." And she did. And then she called me up because I was at college at the time. She's like, "I just rescued this 6-foot python." She didn't even know what it was. She's like, it's at the house. Come home this weekend so you can set it up. So I came home. It was a 6-foot Burmese python, and he was in a 30-gallon tank, like crammed in this 30-gallon tank that had heating pad on the bottom, and his ventral scales had all second-degree burns on them. He was really skinny, so I put him in a nice large vision enclosure and nursed him back to health. And he was just, you know, it's amazing that, you know, how much abuse the snake probably got from this kid. He didn't feel like, you know, I was or any humans were to blame because he was the nicest snake ever. He eventually grew to about 13 feet. In his prime, he was about 75, 80 pounds. Unfortunately, he passed away last year, right, Emily? It was 2022 when he passed away.
Yeah.
We never knew his exact age, but he was in his late 20s, close to 30 years old. But if you look back on all my pictures from all my reptile programs, there's probably a gazillion of them out there of me holding Percy, or like kids sitting on the ground with Percy wrapped around him. He was a great ambassador. So to get back to your original question, yeah, if you're going to wow the crowd, big snakes, even a boa constrictor is good, but know your animal first before you put them on a kid's lap or anything. I mean, that's another very important thing we can dive into later. But you definitely have to trust your animals and be able to read behaviors. I mean, EmmaLee is probably the best person I know that can read animal behavior, especially snake behavior. So I trust her 100% when we're going into handle venomous snakes or going into the reticulated python or anaconda cage, because she can tell me if the snake is looking for a bite to eat or if it's just being inquisitive and just curious.
Sometimes
that's high praise.
Yeah, sometimes Brian's just like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, the way her face is, I'm telling you, she's going to give us problems. And we'll go into an enclosure, and then the snake will come out teeth first. And he's just like, "You're right. Wow. Yeah, you're definitely right."
Wow, that's awesome. What a skill to have. What a great endorsement from Brian. I love it. That's awesome.
So Percy was actually,
no, please
Percy
go
was
ahead.
actually the first animal that I met at Riverside before I worked here, years before I worked here. Remember, it was Green Chimneys. I think.
Yeah, Brewster, New York, right?
Yeah. Brian had a big tent and he had a bunch of reptiles, and I went over and I was like, "Hey, I like snakes," and he was just like, "This is Percy." And then I think it was like 5 years later, and I work for him. So.
Wow, that's amazing.
Small world, yeah.
What does that interview look like? Like you're like, hey, do you remember me? I was in Brewster, New York. Or what does that look like? How does that happen?
I think you did mention that. I'm
I
pretty sure you did.
So actually, this is like kind of weird because Brian gets a lot of fangirls, but I swear I'm not one. He was wearing this shirt and it had a bunch of snakes on it, and I think I was like, "Hey, I like your shirt. Where'd you get it?" And he was just like, "I got it at this website." So I went home and I got myself that same shirt, and then he wore that to the interview, not knowing that I was the girl who like was obsessed with his shirt. And I was like, I actually have that shirt now.
Yeah.
That shows dedication.
Yeah.
She's either really creepy or that would mean though that she would be either really creepy or really dedicated, right? Luckily, it's the latter, but
the
pretty
latter,
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Thankfully, yeah.
You know, when you were talking about the size of animals for shows, that's something that I really think is important too. As somebody, I love to do educational outreach and talk to people, but I live in Connecticut and I have a finite amount of space. This is something I've talked about ad nauseum on the podcast before. I specialize in smaller turtle species. I don't have rescue sulcatas or Aldabra tortoises or, you know, really these really big iconic species or haven't historically. And it's the sixth small turtle species in a row, and they're like, okay, we get it. You have small. It's like, you know, it's another turtle. I get it. Oh, that one has a hinge. Okay, cool. It's not the same thing as like, and here's the alligator snapper, or you know. So that's something that I definitely think is important as well, and that I talk to people about from time to time.
Yeah, I mean it's important, but you came to do a presentation for our interns. Hopefully you come back again and do another presentation this summer.
Tell me when.
But you're an awesome presenter. Again, it doesn't matter what you're really showing. You communicate well. You're full of knowledge and you're funny, which is a big thing. I mean, I do a lot of stupid, corny jokes in all my presentations, and my staff has heard it so much. I mean, they roll their eyes every time they hear it, and I can hear them, you know, moaning that I'm doing the same joke over and over again. And I know they're stupid, but
you're perfecting your craft.
I'm perfecting my craft, but it gets good response from the audience all the time.
Right.
You know, so again, you could be holding a king cobra, you could be holding a corn snake. As long as you're a good presenter, people will like it and people will be impressed by it.
I love that.
I don't bring king cobras to outreach programs, but I don't do that.
Right. And you guys have,
I would if EmmaLee let me.
No.
She's man.
I was gonna cut you off when you said that. When you're like, you could be holding.
I'm checking it off my list right here.
She is running things. You guys are going to do some big things, man. I'm so proud to know you guys. I love it. So you had mentioned, what did we touch on that you said we talk about later? Do you remember what that was? I wanted to go into that next.
Unexpected challenges for opening a reptile zoo. I think that was one of the things you mentioned.
That's what I mentioned before we came on, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to talk about that because I think, again, you've accomplished something that so few people are able to do. So please, the ins and outs, if you can, of kind of what that transition was like. And
I'll kind of sum it up because I know this is only an hour-long podcast because I could probably talk 3 hours or more about what not to do if you're building your own reptile zoo. But I remember when I first had the idea of doing this, I went to Clyde Peeling's Reptiland, which is I think it's in Allentown, Pennsylvania. And I wrote to a bunch of reptile zoos when I was first brainstorming because I wanted to talk to someone who actually did this before. And Clyde was the only one who wrote back to me. So thankfully he was in Pennsylvania. So I drove to see him. And I saw him at least 3 times from, I think it's 2008 till 2019. He kept going back and forth and picking his brain more and getting behind the scenes and seeing how he built stuff. But I'll never forget when I was in his office and he's looking at me. He's like, "You sure you really want to do this?" I'm like, like, yeah, I really want to do this. He looks at me again. He's like, are you sure you really want to do this? So I'm definitely going for it. I never give up. I never quit in anything I do. But now I know what he meant when he kept asking me, do you really want to do this? Because it was literally the hardest thing I ever did in my life. Thankfully, I have the skills to build a lot of things. So I saved a lot of money by building most of the enclosures and building out a lot of the space. I mean, I probably saved well over 100,000 by doing that. But dealing with contractors, I don't do electricity. I'm scared of electricity. So thankfully, I have an awesome electrician, plumbers and everything, but dealing with towns and building permits and trying to explain to guys who build boats for a living how to build me a fiberglass venomous snake enclosure. Or trying to, I contracted a guy to help me build panels we call them the panel rooms. We have a big CNC router. So we designed them on the computer. He cut them out for me. I put them together, but trying to explain how it has, how the certain design and everything. It was a bit challenging, but just the sheer amount of building I did. I mean, I didn't see my family for about 2 years. I mean, they saw me as I collapsed on the floor as I came home at like 11 o'clock at night, and then woke up at like 5 in the morning to get back to the country. There were some nights where Stephen from home, I would just stay there and sleep over. Especially for the patient food, I would just, do 2 or 3 courses. And this is a 13,000 square foot building. It's pretty big. It has a lot of walls. So I stay there and eat till like 2 in the morning. It was always fun. I think one night, it's a funny story. I was painting. It's like 2 in the morning, and I forgot to lock the front door. And I hear a guy's voice come in. Some guy came off the street. He was intoxicated, and he was trying to convince me to let him come in and start doing electrical work. That was pretty fun. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
It got a little muffled for a second. I'm like, oh no, is it my internet? Do I need to expect people not to be able to hear me? But that's okay. It came back, and it wasn't really out. I could still understand the story and everything. I think touching on that, Brian,
Yeah.
your ability to build those enclosures can't be understated. I think that's the thing that Riverside has that's so special. First of all, it's so spacious. Like you have a really large space, but you used it well. You weren't like my turtle room is like, let me build floor to ceiling. Let me stack as many things in here. So if I have 2 visitors, we're going to be uncomfortable, like the 3 of us in there, like standing and viewing what's there. Like every square inch is utilized, which is unfortunate. It's not something that I'm proud of. I mean, my deal is just I want to hatch turtles. That's all I want to do. So that's everything just kind of comes down to that. And you guys haven't seen my place yet, but I assume you will at some point.
Yeah, we'd love to.
It's just a whole different mindset and goal for what you're trying to do. And I think, given what your goal is, you're not making any decisions where you seem like you haven't really committed to the matter at hand. Like you guys, just from walking in and seeing and smelling the place, you can tell that it's different than a lot of the places out there. Like there are big AZA institutions where you can walk into a reptile area and smell the animals or smell the area. Like Riverside does not have a smell. It doesn't. I mean, I'm sure there are times, certain animals and stuff, but I've been there several times, and the place doesn't smell. It's amazing.
I think we all have noses like bloodhounds. So if we walk by an enclosure and it smells, we're just like, get it, clean it now. Yeah.
Yeah, we have an excellent animal care staff. They're always, always looking for anything that might be out of the ordinary, and they do a great job cleaning and keeping the animals healthy.
It totally shows. And we have this question here. So if you had unlimited resources, is there a top limit to what you're comfortable with interacting with, presenting with? Is there, I mean, I'd assume that the answer to that is no for you. Like I mean, you're Steve Irwin to me as like, and I know that Steve Irwin isn't everybody's favorite, but I'm sorry, I'm the age where I grew up with him and I appreciate him. Even though I can, as an adult, I could see his faults now, but yeah, what's your limit?
There really isn't, for me at least. I don't have any animals that I'm really not comfortable with. Well, any reptiles or amphibians or invertebrates that I'm not comfortable with. Yeah, I'm pretty good with most of them. I mean, handling venomous snakes, I really don't use them for educational programs. I have a special acrylic box that I'll put a copperhead in once in a while, but I typically don't free handle any venomous in front of people. It's just it's way too risky.
Or in general.
Or in general, yeah.
It's not necessary, right? I think maybe that type of show and pizzazz is what, and its proximity to Disney World is what made Gatorland so popular in other places, but Enfield isn't necessarily the vacation capital of the world, but
No.
It's not about extra unsafe, over the top presentation. The animals, though, are over the top in terms of what type of cool species. Like, I can't remember where I've seen spitting cobras before. And like, that's the one that stands out in my, you have so many cool things. Like, Kevin goes in there and he's obsessed with the Gila monster. I see the spitting cobra and it just like, wow. Like, that's not something that you see every day.
Yeah, he's an awesome snake. So when I was trying to figure out animals to exhibit there, it wasn't the easiest thing because I find them all fascinating, but I only had limited space. And since I decided to build enclosures on the larger side to give the animals more room, I mean, we could have crammed twice as many species in there, but it wouldn't have been healthy for the animals. And it would have been easy for the animal care team either. But I always want to give the animals the largest possible exhibit or the largest place to live possible, because in the long run, it makes them a lot healthier, and they act normal. They act, more like they would in the wild if they feel safe and they have a large exhibit and a place they can retreat as well. So a lot of people always mention like how active our animals are. It's because they feel safe in their enclosure. You got some pictures going on.
Let's go through.
All right, this is EmmaLee. EmmaLee took that photograph.
Brian took that photograph.
That's one of our Womas biting EmmaLee in the arm.
Yeah, that's my bingo arm.
You don't have a bingo arm.
I was working with an intern a volunteer, and I didn't want to alarm her, but I had just been bitten by the Woma. So she had my left hand wrapped, and then she bit my right arm. So I couldn't get my walkie. And I was just like, I asked my volunteer, can you please walkie Brian? So she held the button for me, and I was like, Brian, it's not an emergency, but when you have a moment, can you please come to the back room because the Woma won't let me go. And he just started laughing, and he came back, he pulled out his camera, and he took a bunch of pictures, and it did bruise. So.
Oh my gosh, that is terrific.
Yeah, you're smiling. Oh, it can't be that bad.
It's like a battle scar in a good way, you know.
Yeah.
It scarred. It actually did.
Oh my gosh, that's wild.
Yeah.
Here's EmmaLee. We're going pretty quick, but here's EmmaLee doing station training with our 8-foot alligator, Brenda. I named her after my mom. She's a little over 8 feet and weighs about 200 pounds. And EmmaLee does a great job at station training her. We should be training her more, but she's on a diet right now. But
yes.
Love it.
Yeah.
And again, talking about enclosure size, that is a huge enclosure. That is the size of a family's pool. And I mean, you know, if that's at a zoo or down south or something, it's got like 14 alligators in it.
Yeah, I mean, I originally built it for 2 alligators. We're still trying to get a larger male to come up. It's not easy to find a 9 to 10 foot alligator, a male alligator, in Connecticut. But hopefully we'll get one soon. But the enclosure is it's close, just under 1,000 square feet with a 8,000 gallon concrete pool, that's heated in the winter for her. So she's got it all to herself right now.
That a lot of alligators aren't that lucky. That's pretty awesome.
Here's some of our reticulated pythons.
Oh, is that Jane?
That's Jane, yeah. Jane unfortunately passed away last year. The albino one, which was a real bummer for me because I raised her from a baby. But she had a stomach issue and she was incubating her eggs at the time. We let them incubate their own eggs. So we didn't notice her belly was distended until it was too late. And she unwrapped and I called the vet, but the next day she was unfortunately deceased.
And you always use veterinary care too, which is something that I think a lot of reptile people don't do enough. As somebody in the veterinary field, that's something you and I have talked about a lot. So when you say that, I know that it's true, and I just want our viewers to know that as well. That people go online and ask, "What should I do?" Usually, the answer is talk to a vet, but you always do it.
Yep.
Ghost.
Is Ghost, our albino red-eared slider. This is doing yoga pose.
I just want to make a disclaimer here. I just want to say something, okay?
Okay.
I love albino sliders, okay? I said it, all right? I just want everyone to know this right now because I think there's so much negativity around like the albino stuff and the purists usually, and then sliders now, albino sliders are becoming very common, and the market has just about dropped out, and there's no real demand left anymore. But I'll tell you, like this, to see an adult albino slider, because they get good size and they turn from that lemon yellow when they're younger to that like pale yellow. To see one like this that doesn't have a bunch of algae on it, like I love seeing this turtle. I always do.
Oh, you come back in the summer.
Come back in the summer.
She's a little green because she's outside.
But you clean her up though, because it's not there in the winter. Like if it was me, I'd just leave it, and I'd be like, no, that turtle is yellow. You just can't see that it's yellow. That's what I would be telling people who visited my place.
All of our turtles in our outdoor pond are actually station trained, so we only feed them in one specific spot, and we'll just periodically pick them up, flip them over, check the bottom of their shell, make sure they've got all their toes, they're not, no injuries on them, no eye injuries especially, and we do that on purpose so that in the case of Ghost, for example, if she's covered in algae, we can just give her a quick shell scrub, help her out a little bit.
Love it.
Yeah, and she's got Ghost has the best personality. She actually crawls into EmmaLee's lap and just like eats the food out of the little container.
Yeah.
It's hilarious to watch like a full-grown red-eared slider do that.
Yeah, and she's blind.
That's so cool. I mean, they're popular for many reasons, including the fact that they're easy to breed in large numbers. But people have liked them and kept them for so many decades for a reason. Right. Steve says, why don't we describe station training in a little more detail for the audience?
Oh, okay. So station training, we mentioned that earlier with Brenda, and we do it with actually a lot of our animals. We have the animals trained to always go to one spot to be fed. And that's particularly helpful in the example with Brenda, for example. If you have an 8-foot alligator kind of going around the enclosure willy-nilly when you're trying to maintenance it, it can be potentially dangerous. So when we need to clean the inside of her glass, for example, what Brian will do is he'll go in, I'll go in first, I'll station train her, get her to go to one area, and she just stays in one spot, and I give her a bunch of rewards. And then Brian will go around and clean all of her glass. And then when he needs to clean the other side of the room, I'll call her over to me, and she comes really well when we call her name. And then he'll clean the other side. We'll give her a big jackpot reward for finishing all of the training. And then it was perfectly safe, and she got some mental stimulation. She got a big food reward. It was associating us with a positive thing. So station training is one of like the more basic training behaviors that we do with a lot of our animals.
What percentage do you think you're station training out of everything?
That's a good question. I know we do it with all of the pond turtles outside are station trained. We do it with some of our lizards as well. So if we have a lizard that is always going to come at you when you open the door, like our big water monitor, Salvatore, if we always have him go into the water to eat, or if we tongue feed him, then we know he's not always expecting food to come from one area. So let's see, what percentage? I would say maybe like, I don't know, would you say 25, 30% of them? Because we have a lot of snakes too, and those guys are definitely not station trained. Oh, all
Yeah,
of our
they're
dart
not.
frogs are too, kind of. We always
Yeah,
shoot
they
in the same
kind of are.
spot.
Yeah, I think 20% is good estimate.
That's cool. I mean, it's a lot when you consider how many animals you guys have.
Yeah,
Is that the
actually, our caiman are
Cuvier's? Is that the Cuvier dwarf caiman?
Yes.
I love that. It's so cool that they're named after him too. I love them. I spend a lot of time staring at them, probably more than any turtle when I was there last time. Which is saying something, because I'm normally like one trick pony. I'm there. No matter where I'm going, I'm there for the turtles.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
if
I
there's no
think that-
turtles, then I just would rather not be there. But sometimes as an adult, I have to do things that don't involve turtles.
I mean, they're so prehistoric looking out of all the crocodilians. I mean, they just have this big and large scoots on their back of their neck and on the tail. And to me, I mean, they just look, dinosaur-esque.
Yeah, totally. Jurassic Park. And how large do they get?
A big male, maybe 4 feet.
Wow.
But typically 3 to 4 feet. I mean, there's always exceptions. Some get a little bit bigger, but most don't.
That's so cool. That's really cool. You guys, I talked about how I'm a one trick pony. You guys have a lot of turtles, and I was wondering, Brian, as the curator, did you have anything to do with you said you worked at the Children's Museum. Did you have anything to do with them having an entire area dedicated just to turtles?
Yeah, actually.
Because that's a pretty cool thing that is not something you see every day. And now at Riverside, you have a lot of turtles.
Yeah, I helped build that when I was
That's
there.
incredible.
Yeah, we put it together, and because we had quite a few species there. We had a radiated tortoise, we had leopard tortoise.
Yeah, not something you see in Connecticut all the time. I can remember seeing that radiated and just
right.
Totally shocked, not expecting to see it there. And I think that's something that Dr. Monahan said as well. Like, there are these diamond in the rough places like that. All it takes is somebody who cares, like yourself, to go through and leave an impact on a place like that. Many kids have gone through and seen so many really cool turtles and other species that they wouldn't have seen otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, the Children's Museum had a pretty good collection of turtles there.
Yeah.
And actually, some of them, I think, are still around. We had a snapping turtle named Ginger, which actually turned out to be a boy. When we first got him, he was about the size of probably like maybe a baseball. But now he is one of the largest snapping turtles I've ever seen. He went to Roaringbrook Nature Center.
Oh, cool.
And I think Ginger is now, almost 50 pounds. And it's a common snapping turtle. This thing is massive.
Yeah.
It is huge.
That's bigger than you normally find in the wild. The largest that we found in Connecticut, and the studies that I've helped out with, which is not extensive. I'm not a field person, but normally like 42 pounds is like a big Connecticut snapper. So
yeah, that's a
50
monster.
Yeah,
that's a monster in Connecticut. I mean, Ginger, I'm sure is a little on the heavier side.
Yeah, that's all right. That's okay.
People feed them all the time, but it was a great turtle room.
You've been able to breed a few species. We were talking about anacondas as well. You said that they hadn't bred this year, but they had bred in the past. What are your excuse me? What are your thoughts on breeding in general, and how often are you trying to breed the species that you have?
I really
There's
want
the
to
large
breed.
enclosures we talked about. Sorry, Brian. There's the large enclosures for anyone who's watching. they're beautiful. They're planted. They're gorgeous. Okay, sorry. Continue.
No, yeah. So I really want to try and breed the more rare species and the species that don't live for a long time. So some of the insects and invertebrates. We'll be opening a bug cave soon. Hopefully, we just got a grant to build it. So hopefully, in the next month or two, we can start construction on the invertebrate display. A lot of our breeding so far has been kind of accidental breeding. Like our reticulated pythons, they laid eggs in 2022, and just for fun, we let them incubate their own eggs because it didn't really matter to me if they hatched out or not. But we ended up hatching out 25 of them, and everybody loved it. Yeah, so well, what could have happened? I mean, we had two females lay eggs, and they both had like 25, 27 eggs, so it could have been a lot more. But now we have 15 baby reticulated pythons left, and they're illegal for anybody to own if you're not a zoo or a museum or a facility like ours. They're illegal to own in Connecticut and Massachusetts.
Yeah.
So they're tough to place. So we still have to place 15 of them. So that's not going to happen again. It was cool. We accidentally bred boa constrictors a few years ago. Thankfully, we were able to place all those guys. We bred our Brazilian rainbow boas, which was nice.
That's great. That's a species that is always in demand, right?
It's in demand, so it's not hard to find good ones for those
Much
guys.
different than an accidental retic breeding.
We actually thought we had two females, but then we had babies, and we were like, oh,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
Parthenogenesis? That's a snake thing, isn't it?
It's definitely a male, unfortunately.
It's been documented in anacondas and actually in the timber rattlesnake and copperheads. Parthenogenesis.
So cool. So parthenogenesis is a reptile term, not a turtle term. Hasn't been proven in any turtles, but that's when a female can give birth. It's basically like cloning, and it was really cool in the newest Jurassic Park movie. They got into that a little bit, which I thought was cool. Like I was just reading about this, so not something that us turtle nerds talk about a lot, but they can actually produce young without having a mate, which is so cool. Yeah. So I wanted to ask now for you guys. You see the, for lack of a better term, uglier side of the pet trade a lot because people know who you are. You have this notoriety. You have this big place with these expansive enclosures, and someone's like, "Hey, I've got a red ear slider. It would be great there." Or I've got a 3-toed box turtle, or I have a ball python, or I have a bearded dragon, and they call you up. I want people to hear from you because I think anyone who keeps these types of animals and is into this ends up being known in their circle as a person who's interested in that. And we all end up taking in rescues. Mm-hmm. But I don't think people grasp, and I never really grasped until I got to know you better, the volume of animals coming your way. And I think there's this interesting juxtaposition between, you saying you grew up as somebody who learned to love this world partly because of the pet trade, but then now get to see the ugly side of it now. And I just wonder, how does that push and pull work for you, and kind of where are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'll let EmmaLee answer this one, and I'll chime in a little bit. She can definitely attest to how many emails and calls we get for unwanted pets.
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, I wasn't lying. Brian really is one of the nicest people I've ever met. So people walk in and they see that bleeding heart from a mile away, and they just have to give him one sob story, and he's just like, I will take care of all of your problems. So he is constantly trying to sneak animals in, and I have to be the bulldog, and I'm the gatekeeper, and I have to be like, no. So unfortunately, the sad reality is I get maybe at least minimum 3 to 5 times a week someone will reach out, and that's on the lighter end of it. And it is usually red-eared slider, ball python, bearded dragon, and it's almost always something along the lines of we're moving and we can't take this animal with us, or we just can't take care of it anymore, or my son went off to college and he doesn't want a snake anymore. We do try to help everyone that we can, but unfortunately we just get so many calls. I think last week I had, within one day, 6 red-eared sliders that needed homes. So
From how many different placements? From how many different people?
it varies. It's weird because with red-eared sliders, if they're a baby, it's usually in multiples because you go to the store, they're very small, they're very cute, and then people want to get multiples. I think the other day it was 6 yellow bellies, and it was just from one person giving up all of these babies. So I think that was 3 different owners, and they all wanted to surrender to red-eared sliders. So that was kind of a rare day, but it does happen. And luckily, right around Christmas time, it was pretty quiet. I think everyone was really thankful for what they had. But now, since the new year has started, we've been getting inundated again. There's a lot of voicemails. I think, well, I won't show it to you because there's a bunch of phone numbers on here, but I have a whole 8.5 by 11 sheet of just people I have to call back and tell them, unfortunately, we can't take their animal. And I do feel really bad because we want to help as many people as we can. You know, we're an education center, but we just can't take in everything.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I definitely, I don't discourage people from keeping reptiles as pets because that's how herpetologists are born. I mean, they love these animals so much, they want to keep them in captivity, observe their behaviors, and form relationships with these animals, and that's fine. I totally promote that. The biggest thing is know what you're getting into, especially turtles. I mean, turtles, we call them investment pets because you get a baby turtle. I mean, chances are, you take proper care of it, you're going to have this animal for decades, and possibly it might even outlive you.
Right.
So be prepared, and especially, if it's one of the common species, if it's a red-eared slider or a Russian tortoise, or, no one's going to, very few people are going to be able to take that turtle for you. So definitely know what you're getting into. I mean, there's lots of great options out there now. Opposed to when I was a kid in the late 80s, 90s, green iguanas were the popular thing.
Right.
And I had one that was loose in my room named Frodo, and he got to a nice 5.5, 6 feet. He was a monster. Thankfully, he was a nice iguana, but I've heard of nightmares of iguanas attacking their owners.
Right.
But know what you're getting into. There's so many great options now. Bearded dragons, leopard geckos. Especially bearded dragons, because they typically live 10 to 12 years. So if you get your child a pet, it's not going to, last forever. But here's another point I always want to bring up, because I get this question a lot. A lot of parents come in, what's a good pet reptile for my kid? Number one, it's not going to be your child's pet. It's going to be your pet. You're going to have responsibility to this animal. There's no child that's full. Well, let me backtrack. Maybe there's a few kids out there that are responsible enough to take care of a pet reptile, but they're far and few between.
Yeah.
So essentially, it's going to be a grown-up's responsibility to make sure this animal is cared for. So a lot of people come to us, especially when their animals aren't doing well. I just got an email the other day about someone had an iguana. Why isn't it eating? Why isn't it doing this? And what, so we always get those questions as well. Why is my leopard gecko dying? Well, you're probably not taking care of it the right way. That's my first guess.
I know those are so tough, aren't they? Like,
yeah, but
you could ask them questions for the next month. Repeat it, like just throwing questions at them because there's so many things that go into it.
Right.
Tough to visualize if you can actually see everything and experience it. What are the temperatures like? That's great to hear, because I think that sort of thing can really, I assume, it can weigh on you. And I'm not even going to start to pretend that I've experienced what you guys have in terms of the volume of animals that are coming back your way, or people trying to. But that's really rough. It's sad. It's a sad reality.
Yeah, we get some animals that are confiscated as well from the state. Illegal animals. We had we had a Western diamondback rattlesnake that wasn't technically confiscated. It was surrendered before it could be confiscated. We named him Wyatt, right, Emily?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a cute little Western diamondback
Oh, he's
rattlesnake.
so cute. He's my actual biological son. I will not hear otherwise. He's so cute.
That's not weird. It's okay.
No,
That's not
no.
weird.
He is a very cute snake, and Wyatt is one of those rare Western diamondbacks. For me, at least, every Western diamondback I've worked with is a little twitchy, very nervous. But he's more an inquisitive snake. When we're in the back room, if I look in there, he's always like peeking around the corner, checking people out. We've gotten eastern box turtles, quite a few of eastern box turtles that have been confiscated.
Art.
Yeah, we an alligator garb, which is a prehistoric looking fish. He was confiscated. I didn't even know it was illegal to keep gar in Connecticut, but evidently it is.
Oh, I didn't know that either. I really like gar. I didn't know that they were illegal to keep.
Yeah, I mean, I see them in pet stores all the time, but I talked to the state, and the reason why they're illegal is because there are some species of gar, I believe, like short nose and long nose, that can tolerate colder temperatures. I think you could find them up in the Great Lakes in upper state New York and Pennsylvania. And they could tolerate, like, if someone dumped them in the Connecticut River, they might be able to survive. And pretty much all baby gar, all of the fingerlings gar, they are almost identical. So it's hard to tell them apart. So they just made all gar illegal in Connecticut.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. They don't want things happening.
Fish, yeah.
It's funny, they haven't outlawed the spiny softshell turtle or softshell turtles yet, because those live in East Hartford now.
Someone sent me a picture of a spiny softshell from Suffield, from the Connecticut River.
Yeah.
They go, and someone sent me a picture in Windsor. Someone sent me a pic in Enfield of a big female spiny softshell cruising the top of the water. But they're not, I wouldn't consider them an invasive species. They're definitely introduced species, but they're not invasive like the red-eared slider. So the red-eared slider definitely takes over an area and pushes the painteds and the other turtles out because they're bigger, more aggressive, and they essentially take over an area. The spiny softshell kind of goes underneath the radar. I don't think it really impacts a lot of wildlife, at least not yet. And I don't think, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think the reproductive rate is as high as a red-eared slider either. So I don't think they can become abundant.
It's tough to know what would happen, like what's happening here. And I feel like it's like anything else. I think sometimes the impact is tough to tell early on. Even red ears, right. I think it's tough to, like, I think some species, even just keep it simple, right? Other turtle species, are they gonna be affected by red ear sliders? It can be tough to quantify because there's so many factors at play. Like, while the sliders showed up and the population of painted turtles went down, but the painted turtles are also getting run over a lot. Like, how do you quantify exactly what it is? Probably had something to do with it, but science takes a long time to figure that out and prove that, and that's something that fascinates me a little bit. I think probably the worst species to be outcompeted by red ear sliders is probably the western pond turtle in California and out west. I there's not a lot again to prove that, but in keeping both species, I think that Pacific pond turtles, western pond turtles they're like racist. Like, any turtle that's not them, they just do not do well if they're kept communally with any other species besides their own, from what I can gather, which is really wild. And then you think about basking sites and stuff, because a basking site is like a bus stop. Like, turtles use it because it's there. They're there to use the resource. That doesn't mean that they're communal. Like, I didn't go and sit at the bus stop next to this weird guy because I wanted to sit next to him. I'm there for the resource. So anyway, there's a lot of stuff that goes into all of that. So tough to know for sure, but I think they're definitely here to stay, which is crazy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's kind of wild. Eventually everything will be outlawed and everybody will need an exhibitor's permit or whatever it is to keep anything.
It's definitely going to happen someday.
Yeah.
I don't know when, but I'm sure it's going to happen eventually.
Yeah. So we just have to do everything we can to do it the right way, right? Like
Right.
educate people. Sorry, I'm still getting over a cough. I was sick like 3 weeks ago.
We're actually
Educate
trying
people.
to be. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, please go ahead.
We're actually trying to become accredited. We think that in the event that the laws do change and it becomes a little bit more difficult for us to be able to do education or to exhibit any of our animals, by becoming accredited, we feel like that would help protect us from some of those laws. So we are aiming to try to be ZAA accredited.
ZAA, wonderful. That was gonna be my next question.
Yeah,
Love
AZA
it.
is just a little too expensive right now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's all a money game. But obviously great to show that you're committed to doing things the right way and bringing people in from the outside that are, totally unaffiliated with your business to kind of take a look at things and see how things are. That's great. What are that's a great example, but what are some is there anything else in terms of big goals for the future?
Well, one of my biggest goals is to finish building all the exhibits.
Which ones aren't finished? They look good to me.
Yeah, well, COVID hit us about halfway through the build. So we started building in late 2019, and COVID hit in March of 2020 in Connecticut. So since I was building everything, most of the stuff myself, all my supply lines dried up. So I really didn't have enough materials to finish anything. That's actually when I started on the outdoor turtle area. My friend brought his excavator down, and we just started, building ponds and everything. But the amphibians did not get finished when we opened in October of 2020. They're about halfway done now. I'm also very excited that the Buffalo Zoo is actually going to loan us some hellbender salamanders.
Wow.
So I have to start building that enclosure as well soon, hopefully. And I always want to do invertebrate display because I love bugs and insects and arachnids, and so I call it my mini Home Depot in that wing of the center, because that's where all my power equipment is. That's where all my materials are. But that's going to be converted into the invertebrate area, aka the bug cave.
Amazing. Yeah. I know what you're talking. I've been back there. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Awesome. That's really cool.
So we're going to do tarantulas and scorpions. I'm going to try to get an ant colony there. Maybe
that's big right now. Ants are like the new isopods. That's going to be the new thing. Yeah.
They are. I want maybe like a leafcutter ant colony.
Yeah.
Stick bugs, beetles, giant centipede. I love centipedes. I'm a huge centipede fan. I like the
cockroaches.
EmmaLee is a.
You like cockroaches, but not frogs.
I love cockroaches.
You are the most fascinating person.
That's so weird, I know.
Oh my gosh.
But I love cockroaches. I don't know why. They're so cool.
You're whipping Brian into shape. You smile when you get bit by snakes, and you love cockroaches. This is...
Yep. You could ask EmmaLee about her domino and her question mark roach colony.
Yeah. I have 2 personal colonies of roaches, the question marks and the dominoes. They're so cute. I like holding them and just watching them. They're like this comical little domino running around. They're super cute. I feel like maybe you don't like cockroaches.
Really?
No, I don't.
Anthony, you don't like cockroaches?
I do. So I grew up in low-income housing where like cockroaches were like the norm. Little, the little brown ones, German cockroaches, whatever they're called, the little ones, and they were just like public enemy number 1. Like you had to clean every inch of your house to make sure that like the neighbors' cockroaches didn't come in. And I don't know. I tried them because they're so great. I tried like dubias because they're so great for your animals. Excuse me, but it's like. It's like if a cockroach got 1,000 times larger and stronger, and they just like when they walk on you, they're so strong, and you can't they're just grabbing onto you. Oh God. Ooh.
Well, when you come back to visit us, you'll have to meet some of our cockroaches.
I'll look at someone else's. I just don't want to have to be responsible for them. And like
you got
to feed these things that I don't like.
You have to hold one.
I also had This is a story that's been told. Actually, this is a story that my wife heard for the first time on the podcast many years ago. I got when I got my first leaf turtles ever. Somebody brought the enclosure with them, and when I brought it home, it's because I didn't want to set them up in something new. If they came in their enclosure, they were being driven. They could be like in their enclosure that they knew and transition right in that enclosure because it's so small. And I set it up, and then I saw a bug crawl out, and I'm like, "Oh God, what is that?" Turns out a cockroach, like the type that are down south. So really hardy, really fast, not like a dubia that's not going to climb things. And then until we sold that house, there were cockroaches in the basement the entire time. So because I had turtles down there, like tons of turtles, I tried so many times. I thought I eradicated them. You can't like bomb the area. Like they're just there.
Once you get those things, they're
Yeah.
there to stay. You just got to release. You should have released some geckos in your basement. That would have helped.
I know. When I do, I'm putting in a greenhouse next, and when I do that, I want to have some free roaming lizards that can't survive here but would survive in the greenhouse to take care of some bugs and stuff.
You need to get some house geckos.
I'm excited about that piece. Actually, it'd be cool.
Yeah.
I haven't kept lizards since college, so that'd be a lot of fun.
I had house geckos here for a while because I had New Guinea legless lizards, and they only ate other lizards. So I had a friend of mine from Florida send me a bunch of house geckos, and he didn't package them really well. So when I opened it up, like geckos just sprung out of the box everywhere in my basement. And 2 years after I moved everything out of my house into the center, we still see house geckos every now and then in our house.
Wow, that's awesome.
I had one last year outside by my light eating moths that were coming to my light. And then they crawl back through the vent back into the house. And I haven't seen one in a while, but
that's
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah,
see, that I can go for, right? Because that's cool. And I'm sorry, EmmaLee. I appreciate you so much. I'm your biggest fan. But I married a woman who studied fashion merchandising in college. Like roaches in the house they're just not going to fly, you know?
Yeah, cool.
It's the sad reality. Lizards, probably not either, but maybe. Roaches,
Really?
absolutely.
Even a lizard? They're so cute, though.
I mean, I agree. But what can you do? You know, and it's funny to bring that up, the old Pondcast story, because the Pondcast has been around for a really long time. And I'll just take this moment to say, next month is our 10-year anniversary. February 23rd, 2013 was the first show that we ever did. And we've been doing this for 10 years now. So we're going to celebrate next month. We'll have John Weir, who is my lifelong best friend. We played college basketball together, and he and I started the Pondcast together once upon a time. So he's going to come on, and it'll be John and myself and EmmaLee, and then maybe Kevin will be there. I know Matthew in the chat said that he missed Kevin's face. I do too. We all do. He has a very nice face. So it's about time we should start wrapping up here. I just want to say thank you so much, Brian, for joining us. And it's been really nice to get to know EmmaLee a little bit more, too. So now in the future, as people are seeing her on the show more, you can kind of know more about how things work for her at Riverside Reptiles. Is there anything else that you'd like anyone to know, our audience to know, our very turtle-centric audience to know?
Yeah, come and visit us. We're at 132 South Road, Enfield, Connecticut. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I have a YouTube channel that's up and coming. It's not huge yet. I kind of did it the reverse. I opened up my reptile zoo and then I went onto YouTube, whereas some other people became YouTube famous and they're like, oh, I got lots of money, I'm going to open a reptile zoo. I kind of did it the wrong way. I would recommend becoming YouTube famous first, so you have the money to do this.
Yeah.
Instead of bringing your very awesome business proposal to banks that don't give you money.
Right.
But yeah, come visit us. Come check us out. If I'm around, I'd be more than happy to talk to you, and you can pick my brain. And if you're a turtle keeper, I'm always willing to learn more stuff about keeping other animals. So come and say hello.
That's great. I've got a lot of hope for you with YouTube. I used to make videos. They're not good. They're still up. Please don't judge me. But Chris Leone from Garden State Tortoise is
Yeah,
a
yeah.
friend, and he's was a host on the podcast who EmmaLee replaced. We're really excited about that. Chris is old news anyway. I'm just kidding. Chris is so busy with YouTube now, and for years I would tell him, you need to be doing this. And after seeing you in action with my kids and those other kids, I can tell you, you need to be doing that because
Yeah.
you have the ability to educate, and then you have all these incredible animals just right there in a really nice setting. Like, what the heck is his name? The ball python person who does the
Brian Barczyk?
not him. The one who does the Searchable as Reptiles podcast with Garrett Hartle. What the heck is his name? Brian too? Dang.
There's a lot of Brian and Reptile.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Well, you know.
That's weird.
I know. Anyway, he used to do a series called like Snakes in the Grass, and he would take a snake out, excuse me, outside in the grass and talk about it for a minute or whatever. And I always thought, that's because you're a rack keeper and you're taking the snake out now to show people in a nice setting. And now it's like the theme, but you just got away from not having to show your same setups all the time in your same space. You have the setups, you have the incredible animals, and you have the skill. Like, all the hard work is already done. All the stuff that all these people don't have. They don't have substance. They don't have, they're just unboxing videos and stuff like that. You guys have such amazing things going on. It makes so much sense to me.
Thank you. Yeah,
That's
we'll definitely get it done. We'll get some more YouTube videos up on our channel pretty soon.
I look forward to it. I'm going to watch every one.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for putting up with my lingering cough that decided to come back today. Really, really appreciate it, guys. And look forward to having you on again to talk about updates in the future. And I look forward to the next time that I get to see you guys at Riverside.
Anytime. Thanks, Anthony.
Thank you.
Thanks.